just to say that we are glad to have you in this conference and to say again the partnership there is between your University of Chennai of Madras and University of Tours, and you are you are professor of anthropology in India, chief of the department, chief of the international department of the university, is it?
Yes.
And many other things that you can explain. Thanks a lot. You will finish the course in Asia because we began at 4 o'clock French hours in Japan. We went in Hong Kong after, Thailand. No, Hong Kong, Thailand, and India. Thanks, Professor Sumaty. And I will send your presentation.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Havi, for the opportunity. And it's a great pleasure sharing my COVID experience, particularly with reference to India. And I have also trying to listen to Landy, and Landy has covered to some extent. But I'll be talking more on qualitative informations, where as a field experience in field work and being an anthropologist and interested in documenting in the way of life of vulnerable groups. And we have been working with this migrant laborers, and the other group which has never been, even now, has not been recognized, that I call them as peripheral communities who have settled down in Tamil Nadu for about more than 3 decades and perceive that this is their native of origin and all that stuff. So I'll be talking about these two people and then proceed with it. Okay, thank you. I'll go. Yeah. I have taken your concept note into consideration and prepared my objectives based on that. The first objective I took is the perspectives and the impact of pandemic on national and global level, to some extent to conceive the problem at a holistic level. And as we are all more interested in narrations and narrative analysis of daily life, how this COVID has resulted in, and particularly my concentration was more on lived experience. So hence the patients I have not really analyzed, but my experience is the people who have lived here during COVID and their experience during lockdown and confinement. So I've taken both primary as well as the secondary sources. In the whole process, I was more impressed and by the new terminologies and the word new normal learning. So the new normal life has become a must, and as an anthropologist, we every time trying to understand what is normal and what is abnormal, and how this whole way of life has been constructed based on certain trial and error basis, and ultimately we construct that everyday life situations. This has been in time immemorial. The human beings, when they started living as a community, started constructed this everyday life and perceived that as the most comfortable zone and started living their everyday life. So the next one is on, yeah. So I was trying to understand the pandemic, overview of pandemic. In India, the first positive cases of COVID-19 was found on, as per the record, it was 30th January 2020. That's what WHO has registered. The national registration of COVID-19 as of today is 381,000 cases, and the death rate as of today is 12,573. So this has been very broadly I would like to mention. And if you could see, the word pandemic has become a byword now, and every communication at all levels, not only at the at the educated or upper class, middle class and lower class, and everybody in their everyday life started talking about this and trying to perceive and trying to understand the meaning of what this uh, pandemic means, and how through various medium, and the expressions varied, and trying to understand according to their epistemic understanding. My only concern, as I was trying to understand this, they were always talking about how historically India has also witnessed many disasters and documented to some extent. Comparatively, this documentation statistically, both statistical as well as some qualitative information has been well documented. This is what is my perception and my analysis as a researcher. For example, like the natural disaster like drought, famine, floods, earthquake, forest fires, cyclones, and so on do created loss of life, livelihood loss, and displacement, and homelessness and refuge in our country. Tsunami was once upon a time an utopian word in India, but 2004 has really showed us the magnificent landscape structure, and particularly as a researcher working among the fishers, has witnessed a primary and empirical understanding what this tsunami is all about, and how it is really affecting the fishers and along the other communities which has been neglected then also, or who have been taken up their livelihood along the coastal zones. Particularly as far as this pandemic and COVID-19 is concerned, the most affected are migrant laborers and not the people who have died. I'm talking more about the people who have locked down and not the people who have died. And Landy has also has witnessed this. Yes. Yeah, the next one is, yeah. I was more into the media discourses. Okay, I think you're doing. I don't know. Yeah. So there are the whole electronic and print medias, as it's all about right from March onwards. It's all about COVID, nothing else, I could say. It's only about details about COVID, and other details and other small issues have contributed just 10%, and the rest of the 90% is all about, and everybody started trying to understand it. So in the whole process of media analysis, and every individual or every citizen so in the India was trying to understand the news from international perspective, and more on China, and started saying they are the root cause, and started creating, oh, how these people can create this, and then started with Italy, when we have a wonderful understanding about Italy and Spain and other Europe countries, and their way of fighting with the COVID. The real life situation in US, particularly in India, you know that many of the states, particularly the Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu and southern states, most of their, every household, one person is in US, and we used to get a lot of information about US, and that has also really shaken our understanding. Continuous WhatsApp messages on locked up homes, particularly in China, the patients and the burials, human bodies, and which has really slowly created panic among the people. In this whole process, one thing I could able to analyze is it has just broke the existing perspective of what is developed countries, and started saying, oh, it's no more developed, and trying to introspect at the strength within India. So this is a very, we perceive that as a very good motivational point, and hoping for the best. That's how I could put it, at different levels. So every country was started following the concept of lockdown This has again become a very, very popular terms and lockdowns, and felt that it was the only means to control the disease. That has been very clearly estimated and is analyzed and perceived, and people thought this is the only way to get away with or minimize the problem. It has become a cumbersome process, especially for the government authorities to maintain the total lockdown, especially in a country like us with so much of dense population, and it is correlated with human culture, is all the more is difficult. As I was analyzing as an anthropologist, I strongly felt that the cultural component should be taken into consideration in the whole process of understanding lockdown and not the COVID. Yeah, next. Yeah. So, coming to lockdown, the first lockdown was announced on 17th March 2020. At present, India has been maintaining the fifth lockdown and it's going on and on. And Tamil Nadu has become worse, and continuously we strongly believe that the government has believed in lockdown, and we are extending, and now we are in intense lockdown in Tamil Nadu. The lockdown created uncertainty. This is the word I have been constantly listening to everyone, and this whole component of uncertainty has created uncertainty in everyday life. That is what is very, very important. As an anthropologist, I understood particularly the lives of poor added to the existing poverty. So there is a chaos and shattering in everyday life. The concept of social distancing cannot be practiced, as the entire habitation of these small communities, particularly the poor population, were living in a small captured land. We call that as Puramboku, where there is absolutely no legal documents also for them. So this is where is their habitations are. The most affected communities during the lockdown are semi-nomadic communities. Even now, not much of an attention has been paid to these communities, as there was no COVID-19 patients numerically big as of now. Even yesterday I was communicating and talking to them. As of now, not even a single person as per these semi-nomadic groups within Tamil Nadu, where I said very clearly that these people have been living on the peripheral. I also call them as peripheral communities, and talking to the government continuously about their livelihood security and alternative and identity crisis and so on and on continuously for past 3 decades. I have been fighting with the government also. Excuse me. Even now things has not changed, but these people are really affected because of the lockdown and loss of livelihood. And the migrant laborers again has become a very, very big issue because of the political intervention, I could say. But otherwise they were invisible for a long time. These communities were living in relative isolation. That's what I remember. Already both the communities, I'm talking about 2 communities here. One is peripheral communities who have settled down in Tamil Nadu for more than 3 decades and completely feel that there is nothing called origin of state and origin and all that, but thinking that this is their place of establishment, and wanted to be with Tamil Nadu, and their children are born here, and they wanted to continue and they wanted to have their identity, but still never been recognized and living like a tribal-like life. So definitely in relative isolation they are, and mostly located in peripheral localities. The livelihood of these wandering communities, I also call them as semi-nomadic and wandering communities in Tamil Nadu, is to attract their viewers. This is what their livelihood is. They attract viewers through magical activities using different materials with musical instruments and animals, and that is how they earn their lives. They also take up unorganized jobs every now and then and work as daily wages. But fortunately, these people have ration cards. That is called, we have a ration card, and they get free rice, wheat, oil, and some ingredients, other ingredients, which is a very big substitute, and that has really saved their life because of the ration card, and which we call them as public distribution system. Through that, India is one of the most successful, I could say. We have a very big successful system called PDS, public distribution system, and the poor used to get the minimal food security through this is through these subsidies. Yeah. But whereas on the other hand, the migrant laborers, they don't have these ration cards. We have been talking about one ration card and one nation and one ration card. It is all on the process. They really wanted to tie up with the Aadhaar card and this card and that card. And meanwhile, the central government came out with the counting of enumeration of all these things, and too many other problems were going on at a political level. But one thing is, consciously as an activist and as an NGOs, as an and researcher, we are all saying that this PDS should be provided to all. But very unfortunately, the migrant laborers could not able to get this ration card because it is not the origin of the state. And the host state has never issued any ration cards. And this is the biggest reason for them to led into starvation and hunger, and started walking, and all those things has happened. Coming to this everyday life, I really has generalized in a broader perspective also. In India, to begin with, it was clearly understood that the people with travel history, this is the word as very frequently used by the government to cope up with the situation and of the patients, and those who have traveled abroad has been taken into consideration, as found out that they are the only people who had infected. The majority who had hardly traveled in our country, travel is not an everyday, is not in our life decisions, and when we plan also, travel will be the last priority for all of us. So except for the elite, we don't have travel priorities also. The majority who had hardly traveled for leisure especially, and particularly who meets their ends on everyday basis, never took the issue seriously. So the poor people who never traveled for leisure abroad and never traveled in their lifetime, never traveled for generations, are hardly could able to understand what is this, and they are not serious about it. Coming to the next middle class, whom I could classify them as government employees and people who go for, and this middle class culture is a beautiful culture, and which is a majority culture also, again I could say. And they only believe in planned travels. We're also observing the issues more as a news item when the COVID has come, and relatively enjoying the lockdown in the beginning. The school going children and all academics and schools and all that were very, very happy, and took it as a sudden holidays and enjoying it. Coming to academic and researchers like institutions, we're trying to understand the issue from discipline's perspective, and trying to see how this could be sorted out, and hopefully waiting for their, and putting all their understanding, their research understanding, and trying to perceive it. The industries calculated their laws without manpower, and there are a lot of people were removed, and they all sitting at home, and many things has happened, and they were looking at it from that perspective. The top business people, corporates, were gone into digital mode of commerce. The entertainment industry is again a very big industry in our country, and capturing electronic media and produce short films, and started trying to fill the gap. I could say the people with access to electronic gadgets. This again, I really wanted to say that at majority of poor are not having any electronic gadgets, and they were only the people who are having electronic gadgets trying to optimize their utility and looking it for real freedom from the lockdown, and they were looking it for other things. So this is what broader perspective on. As an observant, this is what, as a research, I'll come into it. As the total toll raises, the death rate raises, and the number of infected increases within a week time, quickly the essential services. We started classifying it as an essential services, were classified by the government as the virus penetrated into the country, extending beyond travel history people. Slowly the term community spread has come, and that is where, as an anthropologist, I was slightly shaken up, and I was become more observant. We are all clear in understanding what we mean as community in our country, because we are known for diverse community, but unity and all that. Every community here is homogeneous. I have every time said that there are 4,635 communities have been registered by the Anthropological Survey of India, and each and every community is culture-specific communities, which is very, very small, endogamous, simple, and culture-specific. Coming to migrant laborers issues, they live as a community, no doubt about it, and become very, very sensitive because of the opposition parties raise the issues in parliament, and literally targeting the ruling parties. Researchers attending these communities and started analyzing it. So coming to a broader, again, the macro level data and internal, and the problem I perceive is, in our country, the mere problem is we have data, but no consolidated, holistic data which has been resulted in all disaster, and that is where we are facing. But we have ad hoc baseline surveys and data, and we try to cope up with that. Our biggest strength is, again, I could say, is the manpower, and we could able to deal with the relief measures and get into the other stage. Nationwide lockdown in India impacted nearly 40 million internal migrants, which is more than the affected population. That's what I really wanted to say. Migrant laborers, most disenfranchised, invisible citizens. That was Ashwini Kumar has started, which I have been telling that these people are not noticed, not taken into consideration. They are neglected populations, but always given least priority by the government also, because we have other priorities, no doubt about it. Coming to Census of India, which is again a very controversial data on it, more than 450 million Indians, which covers 37% or internal migrations from origin to some other places. And particularly I perceive this is the migration move from north to south is the biggest problem, I could say. Bihar and Jharkhand and all those places, and they work in Tamil Nadu. My migrant laborers normally goes to Bombay, and due to various reasons, I could say this. One is Bihar and UP and Jharkhand. We don't have a universal income index, particularly for the unorganized sectors, and never it has been registered. Though we have the Act in 1979, the Migrant Laborer Act, nothing is in an active position. Never it was registered. It was always on ad hoc, and it goes on and on. About my only worry is now is about 30% of the migrants are youth, very young age, which is we call them as very active age, and which covers into 15 to 29 years, and 15 million are children, and they are with the mothers, and a small proportion of women is also there. 55% of migrants are landless people and homeless people in India. They involved in all the development work in India, but their workforce has never been standardized and never been calculated in overall development. So these are some of the varied identities as came, interstate workers, suddenly guest workers, and all these things has been, went on and on. And I was really, new names has been given to these people, showing that they are guest workers. This is also a new terminology which the pandemic has introduced to us. And wait. Okay, working home with food. This has been really, really highlighted, and I've also interviewed some of them, and the struggles were really pathetic. As an Hervey has always been interested in voices and narrations and biographies and these things, where we are also analyzed the narrations, and these are the words which the migrant said: we have to go back home. This word home is a very, very strong phenomena in all over the world, but in India, more than home and family. And that has really, like taken it in a different stage. No job, no work, no cooking, and no support. These people will always cook food for themselves, and then they eat, because there is the pattern of cooking varied all over India, from one part to the other part. We don't have a patterned cooking all over India. Wanted to see our people like that, my village, my community. Better to work in farmland. This is the first time they said farm is better rather than because of the monsoon period, because of the continuous climatic change and all that. People thought they should look for an alternative and taken up this unorganized sector, but farmland has again came into their mind and said that is better, so that at least they could get food. Unable to perceive the real life situations because of their communication, particularly in Tamil Nadu. We have 16 languages, so you know that, and these people never commute with the neighboring communities and neighboring. They will only communicate with the mediators, or the person, middleman we call them, and the person who brings them all here as a community and involve them in various works like construction work, bricklines, and industries and all that. They hardly, especially women, have never communicated to the others, and their language is the biggest thing. And the ethnic identity is also because Jharkhand people are some fairer complexion, and they don't want to talk to others, and so they are scared of exploitations and all that stuff. Would like to die in my land. Everybody started saying, "Oh, I don't mind. Let me walk." And the longest is 1,200 kilometers walk, and people have reached. So many some case studies and stories have documented by the media and some of the primary sources also. And uncertainty in everything. So once this everyday life broke, everyday life in migrant, where the host states also has given well established, and they were living in certainty, and when to cook, when to go for work, when to feed the children, when to so everything was and this has completely shattered. We are always the last priority for the government and last citizens here in our native country. They have started saying that. As a result, our highest Supreme Court appellate court has intervened, and it has some of the NGOs. We have a largest non-governmental organization in India who have been working with these communities, and they were also took this, and political parties took this issue to appellate court. The court has started intervened into the whole process. Now every state has taken efforts to send them back home through Sharmic specials. This is again another word, free trains and Sharmic specials. But my only worry was there was so much of debate on this Sharmic specials. Who pay for this migrant laborers? But hardly people who come from abroad were never discussed about their expenditures by the government. But only these people expenditures were being debated both by the center and the state, who should pay and how their expenses should be met out, which is really worried because the poor has given very least priority. That's what I felt. The cost analysis was estimated and ultimately negotiated, and consensus arrived, and many of them have traveled back using Sharmic specials trains. Uttar Pradesh has started this now skill mapping. That was the first state I could say has reacted very fast and started analyzing, because there was a very big chunk of migrants returned both to UP and Bihar, but UP has taken it always, like the Chief Minister was very active, and they started mapping the skill mapping, which we were telling long back. And as I said, the universal basic income debate has intensified, and we are happy about it. There are around 50,000 to 60,000 moved from urban rural areas. So far, the sociologists and anthropologists were more concentrating on rural urban migrations, and this was the first time urban rural reverse process took place in India. I hope. There are national characters also as given a different image, which I was also, to some extent, as an Indian, I was very happy. The cross-cultural analysis proved that the cultural component is very important. This is where I really wanted to end. And lot of appreciation has came up from the international level for India being traditional. The Indian Namaste has become a preferred form of salutation in many parts of the world, including US. Clapping hands and lighting lamps were carried out meticulously by the people, besides the political preference, because of their they are more into belief in spirituality, and everything has came together, and everybody has meticulously taken it into without the political preference. The integrative medicine has become, even today there was a lot of efforts has been taken by the state government, Tamil Nadu, where the Siddha medicine is very, very effective and proved that they can cure, and they are also trying to meet up with the protocols of the international thing, and so it is also again giving lot of hopes that how we should manage this coronavirus. The philanthropists are known in India, and they came forward and donated, particularly Tatas and other big industrialists came forward, and that also has given us a lot of happiness, and how they came forward and supported these issues. The food culture, particularly cooking pattern, is we always buy food every day and cook, and 4 meal a day or 3 meal a day or single meal a day at different class people. We only cook and eat, get fresh fruits, and get, as always been, and the ingredients, particularly the turmeric, pepper, and gingers and garlics is part of our food items, and again we recollected and started giving more importance to it, and that has also given a sort of an hope. No doubt yoga has reached internationally, and this again has given an alarm that we should get into that, particularly to deal with the lockdown depressions. Hence it is proved that culture is the real dealing with issues of human beings, and anthropological approach facilitated in stabilizing the thing. The experience lived during the confinement has given there is a urban-rural preference has changed in our country. We also have a floating population that I should mention, and I'm sure that will also come as a big issue shortly. There are people who come from rural areas, and they don't take up a house, but they live there from morning to the evening, and weekends they go back and stay in autos, and so this population is also as really could not able to allow us to enumerate properly. Urban become a battleground. So the whole concept of urban has changed, and many people have started rushing towards their villages. The municipal commissioners at the district levels have particularly cities have accounted 70% of the cases, and a lot of problems. And we also have our structure of the houses also have terraces, open terraces, and all of the urban people have gone to terraces and started meeting the neighboring people, and exchanging views and sharing their viewpoints. So far that was not happened in urban, and the apartment culture is completely changed, and now it has slowly started. Traditional games has become, indoor games has become very popular suddenly. Cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Ahmedabad, Pune and Indore form India's industrial, which has really affected. Lockdown hindered economic activities, which has been known to all over the world. So everyday communication, if you could say, there is a solidarity against this COVID as raised. Updating the news is also worldwide has taken care. local situation. Even every state and every district has been analyzed, and there is no pattern in COVID patient. That's what I really wanted to. So virtual learning and all these things, but still, it's all. I think there is no complete solution has arisen. New names. The epidemic, pandemic itself is, like a new pandemic is a really definitely a new word, and everybody has started. Here we also came out with the Arogya Setu app, the local health app has become popular, and everybody started downloading and see how best they could utilize that app. And Atma Nirbhar Bharat, many Sharmik, and particularly, like when I was talking about this Siddha Kabashura Neer is become very popular, and almost all the district people, rural people, urban people, even the peripheral people, and everybody has started distributed this Siddha medicine, and has been strongly felt that they are good, showing better results. So the pandemic has an uneven impact across the countries, within countries. Historically, social equality has always been extreme in India, but unusual patterns prevailed as far as the most affected patients are concerned, and hence it is also upper, it is also middle, and people are affected. Particularly, it has proven that comorbid people are more affected rather than the poor. But my only concern is lockdown has affected more population. Lockdown definitely showed a pattern and not the pandemic. Hence, if there is a pattern, there should be a solution for it also. Could be possible. That's what I think. So the ongoing treatment as far as this is concerned is home quarantine has come now, because we don't have beds in the hospitals. There are institutional, various institutional has been taken up, even including Madras University has been given it for our quarantine, and beds are trying to put in there. And strongly integrative medicines has felt that there is a solution for it. Free food distribution was very effective in our country. So that has really minimized the starvation and hunger death, I could see. Many recovery is also going on because of this, and that number is also like shown, and it is giving a lot of hopes. But definitely looking for better days. That's what they think as far as the epidemiological perspective is concerned. On the other hand, as far as the solutions are concerned, due to lockdown is, I strongly felt the skill mapping is the wonderful effort started by all the states. And the long pending universal income index should reduce this migration, and migration is known for universally and phenomenally shown the result, and that's not the solution. And this income index should minimize the migration, and strong baseline survey should be there in India. And we also started taking the need assessment studies by the states and district wise, and that should give what exactly is needed for each and every districts and village wise. And yesterday, the Prime Minister has launched a new scheme where he has opened up a job guarantee for nearly 50,000 crores jobs, and 6 states has been taken into considerations, and it is based on the skill types. 25 skill types has been identified. So this should give us a better scope for us. I think I have narrated, and I hope I am on time. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Hopefully waiting to see you for a better life. Thank you, Harvey, and I'm really once again wanted to thank you to share my thing and listen to others also. So now.
Thank you very much, Professor Sumaty. You are closing the first part of this day, and after your conference we will have some pause. Thanks for such important lecture, and to give so many aspects to be able to think the pandemic experience in India. There is one question for you. which is in the chat area.
Yeah.
It is a question. International frontier was quoted earlier. Any intercity or something like inter-district frontier managed by collectors in Tamil Nadu? Can you understand what the meaning of it?
The question was, yeah, Professor, yeah, international frontiers was quoted earlier. Any intercity or something like inter-district frontiers. No, we don't have inter-city frontiers and inter-district frontiers. International frontiers has always been perceived more into political and security sense. That's what I feel, because we also have another ongoing problem in India with China and Pakistan. There are serious border problems is also going on besides this thing, and our Prime Minister and the border forces has been talking about it. But we have a wonderful three-tier system in India. The administrative structure is very, very strong, and we have block, town, and cities, all these, like a well-established system that is on their toes. They are all on the toes, and all these people have been working day and night. For example, I could say the police force, the corporation forces, the district health workers, doctors, and including the political parties, the ruling parties and others are also on their toes to manage this, because it has become more state prestige also. Particularly in Tamil Nadu, I could always say that we wanted to show that we are good in everything, and these frontiers, these I could say they are monitoring groups, more a monitoring group, and they are on their toes and they are working very, very hard.
Okay,
I could say.
thank you. And so thank you very much. I have been impressed by the faculty of anthropology to give perspective to understand the kind of phenomenon between individuals and collective level. So thank you very much. Please say hello for all your colleagues and students.
Yeah, thank you. This is combined by writing by myself and Manju Bhargavi, my research scholar, who is still in the field working with migrant. She has gone to the district, and still we wanted to collect some more data. Those who are not willing to go and why they are not going, and all those details we are collecting, and narration is our major tool which we are taking it.
Thank you. And we will make pause now during 1 hour and a half. We will come back. It will begin at 9:30 French hours, and so also Poland hour. We will begin the next period of this web seminar with Aneta Slovik at 9:30. Thank you very much. See you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.